All right. Thank you for joining. I'm super excited to speak with you today, and I'm very curious about your perspective on a few things.
hmm You see all my posts on LinkedIn. I'm very good with networking and PC building. It's what I do.
Yeah, I'm very not good with those things. So
That's why I'm
I'm
trying. That's why I'm trying to get hired in the field so you guys can actually have me. I
exactly,
don't.
yeah, that's what I was trying to explain. I was like, if we had more people like you, like my work would be easier because it's like, dude, I don't know how to build a gaming PC. Like I can build like a regular like computer for like let's say if I needed to like. Yeah, see exactly, right? That's
I'm
what
doing.
is necessary in the field, but we don't have people like you the way people think.
It's
It's more like
since this is going to be on your YouTube. Guys, what happens in this field? It's very gate kept, so they don't know how to tell people like me how to get jobs in this field. That's why it's a lot harder. So that's why when LinkedIn comes in, it helps because we're all trying to do the exact same thing. That's when I come in.
exactly. You want to explain who you are and how you got into networking and computer building?
Yeah, so my name is Robert O'Donnell, and I run underscore Technology LLC. I started PC building when I was uh, 14 years old, so I'm 29 right now. So I've been doing this for 15 years. I was originally like good at sports. I was going to track, but I was also my family was nerdy, so we were also good in tech at all times. It didn't matter what we were doing. We were just always good in tech. And I went to high school to get and I went my high school has Cisco certifications, so I actually got certified in high school for a lot of this stuff. I wasn't originally gonna I was originally gonna do it just because I was good, but I was also trying to get into D2 or D1 track when I was in high school. But my lung collapsed. So I was like, my alternative is tech stuff. But I love this stuff anyway, so it didn't really matter. So how I seriously got into it was 2018. I met all the tech YouTubers, like the guys that you watch now, Linus, Luke. Uh, there's a few guys from the Newegg team, like Paul, Kyle, that used to be on that team back in 2012 to like 2015. I forgot when they all got out, but I was friends with all those guys. And then I started helping all the YouTubers on Twitch. I mean, YouTubers and Twitch back when it was actually a lot harder to get 10k 10k anything back then. So I've been involved for this for a very long time. So I've been setting up um, OBSs, a networking stuff like setting up PC builds for people. Sometimes it wasn't fully serious because I was just working dead end jobs. So my family can actually get the money that they needed because my dad got hit with cancer. So it's like all that. So everything, my timeline is huge, but it's like short term. Um, I dropped out of college, but by experience, I'm a network and systems engineer because I had the two best mentors in all the network industry world, and they actually work. One's the YouTube channel Level One Techs. His name is Wendell, and his other buddies, Kane. He actually got me involved with working esports in 2019. I didn't. I was supposed to get involved in 2018, but that's when my dad's health started to lower and stuff like that. Then he passed away in 2019. So, and from that timeline, I couldn't really do anything. But I still knew a lot of people from PAX. So I've been going to conventions since I was, like I said, 11 years ago. So since I was senior in high school, that's how I got involved with like everything. And you see my wall pretty nicely. You can see all of the badges that I have over the last 11 years. So
Awesome. Yeah, the
yeah,
the dedication you have to the industry, I want to thank you because esports, as you said, a lot of the professionals, the higher ups, the seniors, they do not like to make it easy for characters to get entry level into the esports because they
Mm-mm.
make it seem like you require all these certifications and degrees and job experience. But for me, I had a very similar experience to you, except it was reversed. I wasn't good at networking and computer building. I was studying computer science in university. I
Mm-hmm.
dropped out
Hey,
at
you're
the
just
age of
like me.
19.
I dropped out at 20 years old. So
Yeah, so the reason why I dropped out is because my university didn't even have an esports program. Like they didn't have
that's
legitimate ways for me to get any type of opportunities.
and let me say this. That's because it was non-existent. It didn't appear until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But a lot of this stuff is brand new. Brand new. Have you ever watched the movie Lords of Dogtown?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
So do you know how when skateboarding first started out? This is esports right now.
exactly. Yeah, it's
This
so
is
that
this
there's
is
very little to do if you're trying to get entry level, and so the reason why you and I both of our roles are necessary. So for me, I'm
Mhm.
focused so much on like the business and like sponsorship and investment side right now because when I first started, since I couldn't get a job, I was like, okay, I just need to go to the rich people and super rich people and then see what I can do for them. And so I majored in computer science and business management. I was like, okay, why don't I just do business management for rich people in esports? And I started working on their startup companies, and then that's how I got opportunities. But they wouldn't have told you to do this in high school or in university because there was nobody who would say, hey, you're not going to get a job even though you have a computer science degree. Like everybody who has a computer science degree that I know, they don't have jobs in esports.
well, the thing is, they also don't tell you that there's a lot of jobs in esports with computer science. You have to apply for the actual game level positions. I'm talking about you have to apply for Ubisoft. You have to apply for this. You have to apply for that. You have to apply for Bethesda. You have to apply for Rockstar. It's not just, oh, there's no jobs in esports. No, there is. You just have to apply at the gaming level, even on the entry level stuff. So you have to be considered a dev, and you guys know C and C sharp and Ruby and all that. That's what they use on the gaming development level. Welcome back.
Thank you. I don't know about Windows. Like I expressly told it to restart later, and then the updates took place right now, and I was like, oh man, Windows, you did me wrong.
Mm-hmm. I'll teach you how to actually use your laptop the right way. I got you.
Yeah, see, that's exactly why you're necessary in the industry because I just can't do it, man.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
another thing.
as you were saying, like the learning C++ plus plus and all these different programming languages and then having to apply to these jobs at
Mm-hmm.
Bethesda, etc. Like there was nobody to teach me to do all these things. And so to become a game developer, like that was out of the question for me. And so I was super like upset for a long time in esports because what I wanted to do, I couldn't do it. Oh man.
Now you know how I feel. All these people are making millions off of the tech stuff, and they're not doing it the right way either. And even my mentor says all the times, like, yeah, they hire us, but they don't want to use our equipment sometimes. I'm like, Jesus, like it's really bad out here.
Yeah, there's so many questions which first of all, only someone with your skills and experience can answer. So what is your current take on esports technology?
What the computers that they use, they're awful. Only I think Rocket League and CS:GO and I think LCS are the top three that uses the best PCs in esports right now. But those aren't been up to date. You see, like Apex, they complain all the time, but they're not using the up to date stuff. They're not using these cards. Like they're still on previous gen, but they make so much money per year. It's like invest into new PCs every year. You're only putting 8 on stage. Uh, and what they should do, anyways, is per land that happens every year, they should be giving those away so people like you who didn't get to experience it as like a kid like me can, like at high school level or even middle school level, we donate those PCs and we build up new ones every single year with the newest stuff. And now you don't need to do it. So the newest stuff now that we have with the new Intel CPUs, with new AMD CPUs, and the new NVIDIA and AMD GPUs, you can now we don't have to worry about the release cycle for another 2 years. Intel's releasing a new CPU every November, but you still can use, that's like the only exception I'll say, like, oh yeah, use that for 2 years and then switch off to the newer stuff after that. But you still can donate that right away. So there's a lot of stuff that, and there's a lot of stuff, including the networking that is being used, which I was especially taught because with Juniper is like the main stuff that we use on lands at DreamHack. So I work on the DreamHacks and sorry about that. I'm kind of thirsty. But with all those lands, it's like you can tell you can tell the CDL struggles because they're using Alienware computers. They're not up to date like the GPU I just brought out. Like they're not, I don't think they care that nothing's up to par. So it's like, but all their contractors that the COD leagues use, it's like they're coming to me or Paradox for computers all the time because we're getting everyone up to date. Like, but it makes no sense that they're coming to us, but they're using these Alienwares that are like 2080 Ti's that can't even run the game fluently. So it's like there's so many bad takes that are happening right now. But the other thing is they care, but not so much. That's the huge take. That's why it's like those they're hiring the wrong people. Well, I wouldn't say the wrong people. They're not hiring enough people to even remotely know what's the hardware being involved with that. Like you have, like from what I could tell when I was working the CDL, well, when I was with my friend who was working the CDL, I got a pass for it, and I could tell like when those Alienwares were crapping out and they're specifically not, like you could tell like a lot of the stuff wasn't fluent even on the LAN, and they're like, oh, we're having audio issues here. It's like and especially, well, right now the CDL is like trying to find their new sponsor for headsets. So I mean that's that's valid, but they shouldn't be struggling right now with what's going on. So I mean there's a lot to it, but like they're not using the right motherboards. They're not for these CPUs and GPUs. They're not using the right RAM. They're not setting it up properly. They're not updating BIOSes. They're not updating the Windows proficiently. No one's testing Windows 11 right now. Well, like besides people like me, would not have the time. But they're not testing Windows 11 to see if it's viable in the next year because like we have to get people off of Windows 10 in the next year or two. So it's like we have to figure out if it's viable in the next year, especially for Valorant too. Valorant actually has good PCs. From you can tell like how big those arenas are. They actually use like up to date ones too. That's another one I forgot to add. So it's very very shocking how sad it is to see like yeah they have all this money but they they want to have the sponsors buy Alienware or someone, but they're not using mesh front panels. They're not using the good airflowed PCs, and they wonder why everything lags so much. And it's just like, oh, it's slowing down, and they're not even probably updating those BIOSes or updating the GPUs or they're not updating like the GPU software, like the NVIDIA side, because they all use NVIDIA. NVIDIA marks off everything. So it's like very, very, it's very, very shocking and sad at the same time for most of these esports events.
Do you think there's, in your experience, do you think there's room to hire like all the network engineers? Like, do you think that these companies
Well,
can just say,
it's not just network engineers. They have to hire, like, I'm a hardware specialist and network engineer because I got better through hardware first, and then I studied network engineering because my mentor. So you need a little bit. You need a PC builder like me or Paradox or someone else. You need to contract some people like us, contract the network engineers, contract the system engineers, then you need an actual audio engineer too, which they already have. And those audio, that's the one thing I'll say. The audio engineers they always hire, fantastic. They're always going to keep their jobs because they're always doing a good job. That's one thing. That's what I noticed from working all these events, going to all these events, and like seeing everything from my first point of my my first eye point of view. So like this is very important. But yes, they have a lot of headroom to do it. But do they want to do it because they already have the people on there? No.
So it makes sense. There's opportunity. It's just very the way they shroud the opportunity in terms of keeping people from
Well,
the
it's like I said, it's gate kept. You can
yeah
tell you
yeah.
can tell right away. It's not it's not a secret. People complain all the time. It also stinks too because I just started my business a year and a half ago. Like this is my logo. Those are all my socials. So like everything underscore technology I own.
So how let's say if there was somebody else starting out and they wanted to do exactly what you do, what is like the process for them in terms of like whether they have to get certifications or a degree or some type of internship?
Well, I went through a lot. So it's like I got certified in high school. Then I worked with a lot of these guys starting out straight out the gate because I met all these guys at PAX. Um, Going to conventions is a major role in a lot of this aspect. You have to go and network at these events, and you have. I hate when people say this, like, oh, you don't have to go to the parties. No, you have to go to the parties because they also have to see how you work in social engagement. It's very, very huge. There's a reason why I can talk to a lot of the higher up people. It's because they trust me from the wording, and I can be straightforward. This it's what I do at the hospital too. Like they send me to like the higher ups, and I can talk to anyone that I want. The way I talk with no issues, because I tell it how it is. That's not. But yes, on this type of scale, always start out with hardware first, and immediately go to software. You if you want to learn how to code, but if you and if you don't want to learn how to code, learn the software on the networking side, hardware side, like learn what a BIOS is, learn everything. That's why these certifications are so important because they're just a stepping stone. It's doing the work that's actually like the experience is more valuable in this type of field, no matter what. It's and you have to learn how to get the experience first by talking to these people at these events. That's why we carry a boatload of business cards because my email is literally right down below. They know where to contact you, especially with all your socials. They're gonna contact you if they're interested. It's like getting at least a couple certifications and learning from the right YouTube channels and going in these tech discords, going in all the like everyone learns from everyone, and a lot of these discords is how we do it. You're not you're not you're not skipping a beat by not talking to these guys because if you nag them long enough, they're gonna be like, okay, let's finally get you in because it's hard. It's not easy.
What is your thought about the way esports works in terms of the games? Like, are the games fairly optimized, would you say?
After optimizing all these computers the last 4 years, I say half of them are optimized, and that's Valorant, CS:GO, especially when CS:GO 2 comes out. We already know that's gonna be optimized. COD is it? COD is the only ones. COD and Apex. Apex is great. I'm saying Apex in terms of not allowing them to go full frames and just because whatever information that's like coming out right now that people are saying it's like, oh, it's locked to your hertz of monitors. It's like, but I've been carrying people's computers over the hertz of the monitors. You there's really no drawback because it's gonna be a lot smoother. So I mean, but Apex is very minimal. That's still an optimized game, optimized BR. COD is like the only one that everyone complains about, and that's when I come in to do all the settings on these GPUs, on these CPUs, on these motherboards as well, because a lot of these people don't understand. It's like you. Oh yeah, especially just using the proper motherboard for these CPUs too, because a lot of and RAM, because a lot of these people don't realize is you can't have a crappy CPU to go all the way up to a great GPU, but have bad cooling, bad air, because it's all at one. So it's like your graphics. It's not just yes, it is. Of course, it's all GPU utilization, but you need your PC to be equal on all terms. It doesn't matter what it is. Low end PC needs to be equal. Middle end PC equal. It's like it does high end equal. It's like you have to use the proper equipment to actually run these games, especially for it to be optimized. But no one's getting this information because the you see these YouTube benchmarks. It's like yeah, that's fine on your end, but no one has a 4090 1300K besides all the people I built for higher ups because they have the money for it because they're making money off the game. It comes down from the GPU graphics and the game being and optimized by the devs, but the devs aren't doing it on AAA titles. Only on like all the ones that I mentioned, Valorant, even Fortnite actually just got graphic intensive over the last like 2 to 5 years or so because a lot of the Fortnite pros I built two PCs for Fortnite pros for the 49s and they're pushing all the frames right now. But even that got heavy graphic intensive on that too. But that's still an optimized game. So there's a lot to it, pretty much.
Is there a way, let's say you're a beginner in terms of like learning the hardware. Would you just say go get hands-on experience at like a convention just so you can see like the PCs?
Yes, absolutely. Because because I work those conventions, I even help out with some of the PC building with some of the other PC building pros. So like we can show you how to actually build it up front. Especially because Asus is there, Intel's there. Sometimes MSIs. It depends on depends on the companies that actually go to the conventions. But a lot of these guys invite us, or I go out there and it's like, oh, you're here? Nice. You can help with building a computer. We can actually show these people how to like do it. So yeah, like conventions, that's why I say conventions are very, very important. Some pros will say go to their YouTube channel to learn, but other pros will be like, oh yeah, we can show you around the spot because sometimes they have the equipment on hand or they have like a 2 hour time slot of them building a computer on stage. And that's usually on the Intel side when you watch all those Intel streams and stuff like that. But like getting the hands-on experience is like the most important part, but also learning. You want both. You want to learn from the YouTube and get the or if you can get the certification. That the certification doesn't really matter that much. It's learning from like the actual people online, going to IRL, and then you go into Micro Center or ordering from Newegg or even getting low end parts from Best Buy and stuff just to start out is a beautiful way of getting into this. It's not hard to break through it, but you have to find the right people to actually like break through with it.
You mentioned Discord servers earlier. Are there any servers you recommend people join?
Let's see if there. I'm in one coding one. It's called well, I'm in the MSI gaming one, so a lot of these companies have their Discord servers open. So MSI has their one open. Oris is Gigabyte. They have theirs open. Intel has theirs open as well. They made it publicly available. So you can tell I'm wearing my Intel shirt right now. I got that at DreamHack Dallas. What else? I'm trying to find the coding one. There's a certain one. I can't think of the name of it, but that's a strictly coded language server because I had like every language in the book, especially to learn from, and automation and all that. Once I get that name, I'll send it to you. But that's a very important one. They have the game dev section as well. But yeah, like all the ones I did name, those are important too because they have some of us selected for like pro PC building. So like it's nice, like because sometimes I get tagged in there. You can go to some of the Twitch streamers that are PC builders or like Instagrams and stuff like that, and you'll see that they have their Discord open. Never bombard these guys with questions because even me, like we're tired after a long day of like working with this stuff. So it's like we're gonna answer when we can. So people can't actually get mad at this type of stuff, like when we don't answer. But yeah, like a lot of those servers are very wide open. It depends on who you follow too. There's also um, um, Gamer Nexus forums, the LTT forums are okay. The level one text forums are the best ones as well. That's probably my favorite one too, because that's by Wendell. He's the one who he's actually one. He's one of the engineers in the field that like he gets brought out to go to every single event across the world. But he has his stuff too. Like that's I think he has a Discord server too. I'm not sure. I think I was in it before, but I got out of it.
Earlier, I remember before my computer restarted, you mentioned that there was this gatekeeping in the industry where they make it difficult for you to gain these opportunities, even at an entry level. So, what do you think would be the right process to gain opportunities in esports?
Going to the after parties, seeing these guys, especially going to the events too. Events are the main most important thing for these people to get entry level because you gotta know who to talk to, and but you also gotta show your work. It's not just it's not yeah we have these vouchers, but a lot of people don't know we don't know who you are yet. So that's why like meeting these streamers, you can't be creepy with anything because we will call you all on that. There's really no necessary thing for you to come in here thinking you're going to be all that, and then you do some weird stuff, and yeah, we're going to boot you right out. But go to the events, talking to like the Intel guys, talking to like some of the esports, a lot of the esports guys, because if you go to one convention, esports, that's what it is. Esports is everywhere. Um, you can and being on LinkedIn too, because everyone's in. You just have to literally go in the search bar of esports stuff and esports related stuff, and boom, there's a whole search of people. Um, so that helps for who do you know to talk to as well.
Yeah, the The process I had when I was younger is I did not have the idea of using like LinkedIn or going to the conventions or any type of after party because for me, I was always thinking, man, if I can become a game developer and apply for some jobs, that would give me access to these events and other opportunities. But then when I realized I couldn't become a game developer because the timeline for when esports was starting with like the school programs and like sponsorships at university level, I
Mhm.
was already a senior and it was too late for me to get into many of these programs. And for my specific university, Utah Valley University, there
Yep.
was no program. And so I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I can't go down the career path I wanted. And so now I have to go focus on the
Now
opposite
you
side of things, is all this other stuff which I wasn't planning to specialize in.
and the best part is you were on the right path, but no one told you. That's the other part. School is all great, but the teachers aren't teaching you the right things. It's the same thing with coding. They're not telling these kids to go on Linux, study the code on Linux, code on your the Macs too, because they're both Unix systems. So I mean, you can code on either one. But they're not telling them to learn Python, C plus, C sharp, all the web development. I mean, all the not telling them to look up all the game development type of software, like also not telling you guys that you should be doing coding at least 2 hours outside the classroom either, because that's how you get good in this field. It's the same thing with networking. I knew what to do right away because I was doing it anyways outside of that. Like I was before I moved into my place, I already had a home lab set up. I was already building routers. I was already setting up switches. I was already like setting up Cat 6 in my whole entire house with my dad. Like I was already doing all that wiring in my house. So like even I have better wiring here, of course, and stuff like that. But it's like they're not telling you any of that stuff. It's like you have to do that.
Yeah, there was a time where I was like, man, if I had like again, even just going to like one after party, right? Met someone like yourself, I could just ask you a question like, hey, how do I learn how to set up Cat 6, right? Like that would have advanced my career forward much faster than trying to wait years to learn all this stuff. And I'm just like, man, I can't even use my laptop properly. Like, how am I supposed to go run an esports event? Like that's the problem that we keep
Mm-hmm.
facing is like if we had the right process as you explained, and people like myself, like I wouldn't run into problems at esports events. It would just be taken care of. And again, I could do more things in terms of sponsorships or hiring people and then like making the entire experience better for people who are gaming where
Yep.
that doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And that's something where I'm always upset about the industry being like that.
That's why it's a skill gap. People don't realize it, but it's like a lot of these guys get in jobs faster than I am. But but they can't even handle a computer right. Like I should be on that stage right now. Like you see all the delays, all these computer delays, and they're taking like a half hour. That's not a half-hour job. That's like a 10-minute job. That should have been sufficed 2 days before the event started. It's like we test that stuff out for a reason, especially at DreamHack. DreamHack, we do a great job with that. That's one of the coolest staff I've ever worked with and will continue to work with for the rest of my life because those are the people that I want to be with pretty much. But I'm trying to bring that over to your side of things because it's desperately needed. Like it really is. Because a lot of these guys, oh, why is my PC down? Did you update the BIOS? Did you go through the motherboard updates? Did you update the CPU drivers on the Intel side, or did you update the AMD drivers on the CPU or GPU side? Did you put all the stuff to latest? Did you update the network interface card on the motherboard? Did you is the RAM on XMP? Is the RAM on DOCP? It's like there's all these questions that need to be answered, and no one's answering this. It's like, oh, but we're running updates through the servers and stuff like that. Yeah, but to do all 10 updates, no, that's Then I go in, the BIOS isn't updated. It's like, yeah, it's the system's unstable because you guys didn't even bother to update the firmware. Like that's a huge part of why a lot of stuff is so slowed down. So when people are blaming the land side, it's like, no, that network's perfect because I know those guys who did it. Then you look over to the computer side, they're not even using the right NVMe drive sometimes. So like there's so much that goes into it that like these questions need to be answered. And if it's only half the list, that's a problem because that other half need to be done. Like, oh, why am I lagging? Let's check the speed on the network from this computer compared to this one. Oh, this one's updated, but this one isn't. And answering those questions of why it's so like that's why I love like dealing with people sometimes because they're like, oh, hardware is not that important. I'm like, no, no, no. You can't answer half those questions. Then you should not be touching the computer. Just go with the software side, please. Let me handle this. That's pretty much. And I know the rest of the people that can handle the same stuff too. We just need the contracts. That's all we need. We'll do it for you and all that.
Yeah, I noticed with some of the major events, like when I was watching, for example, I watched Rocket League a few times. And I'm like, man, this is a really enjoyable experience.
Oh, it's
But
the
then
best.
I switch it to like, let's say example, League of Legends when there's a delay, and I'm like, okay, if it's a player problem, like, okay, I can understand the player needs a pause or something. But if it's a computer issue, like those guys are usually on top of things. And sometimes I'm just like, what is it that is stopping somebody from just hiring the right person and then seeing
Mhm.
if it's like a software thing, which usually I don't think it's a software thing, but it could be. It could be.
Mhm.
And I don't see the same level of enjoyment from Rocket League that I get from other esports. And I just think that I'm not trying to be biased. It's just that
Oh,
people like yourself who do a better quality job. And I'm like, this is why like esports for me, I don't enjoy the games as much as I could. And I'm not trying to like talk poorly or down to people. It's just like,
we never
I
tried
think
to.
that, yeah, I just think that being unable to use my own laptop, right? If I just knew what to do and then being able to translate that to these other events and then being like, hey, listen, hire this person or like go and get this contract developed. And then we don't have these same problems and esports is more enjoyable for me. And I can say, hey, this is what needs to be done the right way. But like
Mhm.
that never happens. Nobody ever asks me those questions you said. Nobody ever talks to me about having the right going to after parties or going to conventions or like getting these specific certificates and learning this hardware. Nobody ever says any of that.
No one does, and I've been in the right network for like the last 10 years. That's why. Like that's. But now I'm finally starting to work all these events. That's why like by next year I want to be in esports 100%. I want to be at every single event. I'm flying out. I want to be working all these. So you guys are all set and up and running. That's that's why like when I saw your LinkedIn post, they're like, oh, we're we're giving these computers to like that some of these African countries. I'm like, we should teach these people how to build them properly because they're going to get more enjoyment out of that, and why each part functions the way it does, so they know that they're not buying the wrong parts at all times. It's like that's so important. Like today, I saw a post on Twitter. This guy was like, "Oh, I got a beast PC build that I'm doing on stream today," and it was just the 7600X with the 6800 XT with like not even a good motherboard. I'm like, that's not you're misleading people. That's not Beast. Beast is more like the $4,000 builds and above with 4090s and all that. That's a beast for you're supposed to say this is a beast for this price point. But looking at all those parts, I'm because I can nitpick anything I want, especially when it comes to PC builds, because like that's what I've been trained to do for like ever. That's what I've been good at to do. That's why I run my own company doing this. And it's just like it's mind boggling because I can do that same exact build, but with the 7800X, with the 6900 XT, with the 7900 XTX. That's the newer AMD GPU with a B650E or B670E. Like those, like that's the important part that people are missing out when it comes to like when I'm saying there's misleading because that's a beast build in itself, not the parts that he posted. And that's very important because these kids, if they want to get into this, they have to learn those parts, especially if they want to be on stage working with all those computers. Like they have to know what's the functionality of each component like that.
As we wrap up here, what is your experience in terms of where you think esports is going to go in terms of like software, hardware? Do you think it's going to be more accessible for everybody in the future?
The way it works now is sometimes I can get access to some of the, like say if I'm hosting a local tournament, I could actually hit up people who got that same software, but it's not really accessible to everyone because it's only maintained for these guys. I don't think it will for like another 5 years, but I don't think it comes down to who you know, who do you want to talk to. Maybe they can help out to get that software, but we don't know. Hardware, I think it's going to be a little bit better, especially if I can get the contracts, especially with you, and I can tell these guys straight out. It's like, no, you're doing it wrong. Like, let's get these PCs right so you're not lagging on stage or delaying on stage. But we'll see when the time comes.
Definitely. I was always thinking with that post about having esports become more accessible in Africa. I was thinking, man, do the children know how to build their PC? Because when I was a child, like I didn't know how to build a PC. I didn't know about any of the software stuff. And so I was always thinking, like, it's great to give them the hardware, but like if they don't know how to actually build a PC, if they don't know how to run the software, if they can't actually do the networking side of things, like they're really at a disadvantage.
They're at a disadvantage if they don't even know how to even update a BIOS. Because you can't even update a BIOS on a graphics card too to have that running. How many people have access to that information? It's all over the internet, but do they know how to Google search that? No, they probably don't. That's the other concerning part too.
It becomes more important by the minute where I'm thinking about like how to make esports better, but then I just think it's people like yourself that have the answers to the problems I'm facing. But then when I talk to like some of the people that are doing tournament organizing, and then I ask them like, hey, who's doing like the hardware setup or like the software things? Because I don't know how to do it, right? I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And their answer is always the same. It's like, oh, we either have this company, and I'm like, I've never heard of that company. Like, are they good? Like, are they doing like the Intel series or something? Or like, are they like the professionals that you need to be doing? But then it's usually not. And then at that point, I just stop talking to them because I'm like, they don't know what they're doing. I can't learn anything from them. And it's difficult because it's always the same problem. It's like, hey, we hired this contractor, this company, etc., but then we got this poor results. And I'm like, okay, if we don't want the same poor results, like, you know, hire OD technology, hire somebody who has the experience and skill set that can make it right the first time, right? So we can teach people the right processes, the right systems the first time. And this is something where people will learn much better from you rather than a lot of these organizations that are getting hired and they just don't do it properly.
It's like the post that I posted 1 week ago. Like, please let me reiterate to stop using $150 motherboards on high-end CPUs. They do it all the time, and they wonder why everything breaks down so fast. That's 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 why I made that huge post on LinkedIn because it needs to stop. Like that board right there is a 200. That's a $300 board for the i7. That's perfectly fine. But bring it down to a $150 board on DDR4 on a brand new PC. No, you're just choking out the whole entire system. It doesn't work that way at all. Not one bit.
Brother, thank you so much for your time. I will edit this and make sure that the first part is properly introduced so people understand what you were speaking of earlier.
Yeah.
And then I will get back to you in terms of esports events, probably in Q4, so around November maybe, or
Yeah.
earlier January, because I know I didn't go and do like anything in Dubai. All of my focus is in North America. So I'm gonna try and get more events here, and then I'll get you either
I live in
tournament
America.
organizer opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I'll try to get you some tournament organizer opportunities here, and
mhm.
then you can work in terms of the hardware and software there, because that would
Yeah.
just make it so much better for me.
Got you back. Love that.
Thank you so much, man. Where can people find you online? I know you showed your card earlier.
Okay, so people can find me all over Twitter, Instagram. Let me see. Yeah, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I have OD Technology, same name across every single social media platform. And that's
Awesome.
available.
Thank you so much for your time, man.
Of course.
I will speak with you very soon. Take care.
Awesome. You too. See ya.